Hi there, Fragger here, and I thought I would make something for the Hard Games thread on something awful in a game that I feel like that I'm fairly competent at, which is N+. N+ was a game that was released for the Xbox 360 in February 2008, and kind of almost serves like a precursor to Super Meat Boy in a lot of ways. They were both Flash games that then got an upgrade when they came to consoles, which made them better games. Whereas I feel like Super Meat Boy is a fantastic, great platforming game with equal amounts of fair and challenging, I feel like this game is a lot more just straight up challenging and a lot less fair. It has to do with the way that you can control the ninja, who is in cyberspace doing ninja-y things. Now, the way the game is actually set up is in a 250 level system, as you can see here, because there's 50 episodes with 5 levels apiece. You can't just jump into a specific level, you have to play the episodes that the levels reside in. So what I'm going to be trying to do here is play an entire section, so about 5 episodes each, which is about 25 levels. And I'll dig into the way that the game is actually structured in the actual episodes themselves, which, let's not dilly-dally, let's dig right into that. So here is the first episode. Already we're learning things. We have bouncy jump pads there and yellow squares, which increase our time bar at the top. You're ranked in the end by how good your time you have left over. Now, the other neat mechanic is if you tap X, you explode. This is great for those instances where you get caught in areas you can't get out of, or like this, where you miss your jump and you don't want to go back. Those little red dots, as you can imagine, are also mines. The main goal for each of these levels is for N to get to the exit. Now, sometimes there's switches to open the doors, sometimes there isn't, depending on the difficulty of the level. There really are some levels where you start on, like, the left end, have to go all the way to the right, then all the way back to the left, surrounded with enemies and the like. Now, this is our first enemy as a gun turret. We really aren't going to see a lot of him here. He's just going to shoot at us once we pass the second bunker here. We're going to deal with him in earnest in later parts. And now here's the last level of the episode. So it's pretty much just trying to teach you about momentum and jumping here. And I'm still a little rusty at the game at this time. I haven't played N+ in about 2 years. And I'm starting to get back. You'll see it towards the end of this episode that I start to get my groove back in this game. But right now, that happens quite a bit. That's also one of my other favorite parts, is that, especially when there's a lot of mines, the ninja can chain together quite a few awesome explosions. But the main thing in this game that it does that I am not a big fan of, especially after playing such tighter platformer games, there's no run. It's all momentum. So all you really have is 3 buttons in this game, which is move in all the directions, jump, and suicide, which is a legitimate move. So there we go. Episode 0 done. Now, from here on out, I'm going to be editing out a majority of my deaths. I'll try to be keeping in a few of the more entertaining ones. But the way I play this game is that if I fuck up, I tend to suicide and immediately start over. So that happens a lot. Or I do something like this, where I'm not paying attention. Another thing of note is that since the soundtrack is just one song pretty much on loop, you'll hear occasional jumps in the audio, and that's obviously due to editing, so don't worry about that. Now we have another enemy that's being introduced here. This guy pretty much just goes along predetermined paths, and they hover along walls. They pretty much just follow the straight line, and we're gonna see them quite a bit in a level or two. Crap. Now, pretty much most of my deaths in this game are either suiciding there, like when I screw up, or I don't pay attention to where the end of the level is, and I fall straight to my death. Something that you do quite a bit in the later levels of N+ is some uncontrolled descents. You have to either tap on a wall, and I'll kind of show it here, which is what you really want to do to keep your time up, is tap the wall to stop your descent as late as possible. Now, here are these enemies that I was mentioning. All they do is go along their paths, and if you touch them, you get shocked. Took a little too much time, so I missed the smooth jumping there towards the end. So there's the end of episode 1. Episode 2 is when they're going to start introduce some of the wall climbing aspects that you're going to be doing, because wall climbing, if done correctly, increases your momentum. So we'll be seeing that in a little bit. Now, these jump pads, which I haven't really had a chance to show off because they're only really in the first episode, is that they kind of, if you jump on them in the correct time, they drastically increase your upwards momentum so that you're able to actually do things. And another thing I can't believe I haven't mentioned yet is this, the jackpot. This is pretty much what I'll be calling most of these types of levels. They're usually fairly easy levels or fairly easy sections of levels filled with time squares so that you can increase your time so you can kind of dick around in later levels and not worry about them and go to the end. But the other major thing that we have here is a new enemy. These guys just kind of go in a straight line when you activate them. Their top part is dangerous, the blue part, but the underside you can actually stand on and act as mobile platforms, and we'll be using that in later aspects. Now, do it yourself. I am not proud of my performance in this level. I do a lot of deaths. I move a little too fast, so let's take a look at a few of these. And that happened. Huh. So, let's actually beat this level now. This level, what it's supposed to teach you is that sometimes slow and plotting is the better way to go in this level, which is why the levels like Jackpot are very useful. You can take your time on a level like this and not worry about running out of time, and trust me, later levels, you're going to run out of time. And you also want to abuse that mechanic, which is as soon as you enter the door, you slow down and you never die. This here is another important thing that they teach us right now, which is using a kick off of a slanted structure onto a wall allows you to get some decent hooking momentum based on how you do things. This part here is to teach you how the slanted momentum really helps, and that you need to break your fall. On my practice run, I definitely jumped to the bottom part and died. Not much to say about a level like this. This is your traditional move around, do a circle, get done kind of thing. Ah, this level. This is going to teach us a bit about these jump pads that we've only seen once so far, and this type of enemy, which is a laser turret. What they do is he has to get those 3 dots into line and shoots in those areas, so if you move quick enough, he won't get a bead on you, and if there's an obstruction, he won't shoot you either. And we start off with missile turrets. We'll be talking a bit about these in a later level, but for now you can kind of see they move slow, you can easily cheese them, and we get a very simple level to introduce them on. And that ends episode 3. Let's talk about episode 4 now. This introduces another character which, when in your line of sight, it chases after you. And I killed myself there for some strange reason. Now let's do this part correctly. Kick, exit. This is one of those kinds that really does reinforce home that if you fall straight onto the door, you're not going to die. But not gonna lie, on my practice run, I died quite a few times there. It was silly. So missiles, they're gonna make their second appearance here, which is just stay out of their line of sight, let them hit walls, and you're okay. This is one of the few levels where destroying the missiles is the correct course of action. Usually you just want to lead them along and do your thing that way. take this a little too slow, but, you know, gotta be safe. And stupid death. You gotta keep the stupid deaths in. I love how this is pretty much your jackpot level, and I just say, screw it, I have 86 seconds, I'm good. So here we go, Downtown Rush Hour. This is the last level that we're going to be taking a look at, and is the first of what we'll see later on in the game, which is a lot of levels where you're pretty much in a maze hitting buttons, trying to avoid enemies, and making really stupid deaths. And I feel like I didn't do that well in showing off how you're supposed to do these, which is once you hit a certain pace, and if you can keep up said pace, you can usually go through these at a decent clip, pulling off some really good jumps. But I had failed at this level quite a bit at this moment and was kind of like, I really want to get this thing done. So I kind of get caught in the exact opposite thing that can happen, which is you kind of get stuck with a bunch of objects that you're following and not really doing a decent job of keeping up with things. Now, those red squares, those gray squares open up doors, which will be the bane of our existence in later parts of the game. That's going to do it for the first part, and I'll see you guys for part 2. We're going to be tackling episodes 5 through 9. See ya!